Post-traumatic growth. I was raised by a generation of inner-city revolutionaries, radicals swept up in a rising tide of new ideas and anti-government activity. By Vietnam War protesters and long hairs and open-air concerts where the smell of burning grass and a drop of acid was commonplace. At 11 years of age, I was kicking in my earnings to the bail collection from my parents' jail comrades. I turned 13 in 1970 and immediately felt the frontline head-bashing brutality of National Guardsmen and police. Golden Gate Park was a place where no lives mattered. Watch the tapes. Excessive force was every day. I was taught young that the government and local law enforcement were the enemy. Cracked skulls, ruptured spleens, and broken ribs instilled these beliefs. The verdict was in and it was guilty. I'll never forget the sight of blood running down my mother's lip as she spitting out the word pig, pig, pig under the long thin shadow of the District of Columbia's Washington Monument, as police dogs and police horses scattered crowds like cockroaches. See, we were bandana-wearing insurgents and tear gas canister returners, and they tried to silence us, but they couldn't. Because we weren't talking about it, we were doing it. From my birth through my 20s, I lived in a movement. One cause after another, non-stop. Civil rights, equal rights, flower child, hippies, gyppies, and communes, free land, free love, peace, pot, and microdot, Timothy Leary, Huey Newton, Angela Davis, the Black Panthers, and the SLA. In those young years left instilled in me many faulty core beliefs about law and order and the role of authority when my young brain was still developing and forming. When I turned 15, Nixon was impeached and the war in Vietnam ended with us in retreat. It seemed like the nation could finally breathe. I didn't know it then, but I was already suffering from an insidious disease. See, from my sophomore year to 12th grade, I smoked weed every day. Come graduation, I'd push on to pills, heroin, and cocaine. My disease increased along with freebase. About the same time, all the hippies sold out and moved to Silicon Valley to work for Macintosh. Took the free off pot and started pushing for profit. Yet when the one-time rebels were becoming professors and securing tenure at UC Berkeley and Stanford, I found myself deep off in another cause, and that was to get well and stay well for at least 24 hours, by any means possible. Before I knew it, a decade had passed and I had not advanced. And I wasn't a dumb kid. Age 31, 1988, I should have owned a small business or earned a degree. Instead, I was paroled from Soledad Central, level 3, a beast. All I did in prison was lift weights and scheme. And where did I go upon parole? Right back to us on the same spots, on the same 7 blocks for 20 rocks and heroin shots, day and night, non-stop. My head was on a swivel, hand on a pistol, wishing I was invisible, but fronting like I was invincible, and really, me and my girl, we were just freaking miserable. People were telling us, he's going back to prison, man, but we wasn't listening. We were too busy crystalling and pistoling and dissing all those folks who were really loving and missing us. Man, it was ridiculous. So I spent the rest of the 80s and all of the 90s creating crime victims and hanging out in the system. A man maimed and broken who disdained authority and welcomed hopelessness. Thinking my way was appropriate. Saying I'm not insane, I'm coping. While weighing whether or not I want to see my veins be opened by that stainless notion that I wasn't made for more than just promoting this life of failure and vulgarness. So I wandered aimlessly, groping through prison hallways and corridors, blaming everyone but myself. And for all my pain, I consulted my main consultants. That was my homeboys. Dudes who were just as damaged as me. They possessed not one degree, but they prescribed what they divined to be the remedy. Alcohol, dope, and a little bit of weed. It was a blind leading the blind, just pushing it on down the line. So when I'd parole, I'd go right back. Only this last time was with a life stack. 25 years to life. But I picked it up and ran with it like I thought I knew what I was doing. But I soon learned that those maximum security level 4180s, they play for keeps. Man, I can't tell you how many days I pushed a child with a knife cheek. Reckless and feckless and armed with a weapon and a perspective that life is something you have to fight to keep. hoping tomorrow comes, but so many times it didn't seem likely. Always worried about what might be. It was frightening, being surrounded by guys just like me. Lifers with crushed dreams who construct things that bust spleens, thinking that such things are worth it. Because when it erupts, he's ready, man. It was heavy. Before I knew it, another decade had passed and I had not advanced. In fact, I had my hand in every dope sack and negative bag, choking year after year on the same fears and living off the salt of my own tears and wondering why I can't get it together even in here. And if not here, where? Where? See, I knew that my present conditions grew from the roots of my beginnings. My hatred for the police and everyone in authority over me. I also knew that in order to sit in a room for hours on end and answer targeted questions about my criminality and the developmental stages of that mindset, I needed to know how the fuck I got that way. I needed to know who was I, who am I now, and is there a difference between the two? So I asked for help. I turned my focus introspective and started assessing myself, unpacking unprocessed emotions I was told was the only way to get well. So I immersed myself in rehab and a grip of self-help. I went on a mission, tunnel vision, no time for slipping. Look, there was no dissing, but the homies I was missing. Clearly, the lack of constructive resolution of past pains that caused me issues. And it wasn't long before I started seeing changes in me. I started questioning criminal values and distorted beliefs. With each layer peeled away, I felt just a little more free. But it was not fun. I was acutely aware of all the damage I'd done. And it was painful, looking back on a life that was so wasteful. I was so ungrateful, it was shameful. See, my beliefs had become the lenses through which I viewed the world. Whether accurate or distorted, my beliefs helped shape my choices, which wrote the scripts that set the stage for my emotional responses. I was broken. So internal reconstruction became my focus, my devotion. Then, after years of introspective analysis and assessment of self, and of course, doing the right things, on April 9, 2022, I swung for the fence and got found suitable. And on August 17, 2022, I walked out the front gate, not the back gate, but the front gate, free from the bonds of addiction in the California state prison system. All glory be to God. Amen.